is sweet, but the mind is willing. Setting my feet, lest I be slipping. Wanna be free, wanna be free.
I was up for the task that he handed. Promised he wouldn't regret it. I'm holding it down to the casket. I'm holding it down like a bandit.
I don't think the world is sold. We're just doing what we're told. And I feel something so right. I'm doing the wrong thing. And I feel something so wrong. I'm doing the right thing. I could not. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive.
Well, it was just a dream, just a moment ago. 'Cause I was up so high, looking down at the sky. Don't let me fall.
Chosen people hate what the world seeks and seeks what the world avoids. These are beautiful words from Ignatius Loyola.
My intentions for creating this video is to explain spiritual and conscious concepts through connecting them with this movie. In the beginning of the movie, we don't know that Dr. LANI and Detective Spooner already have or had personal interactions with each other. That is breadcrumbed throughout initially. Divine guidance or synchronicity. So let's compare Dr. LANI to the universe. Del Spooner as being the chosen one and Sunny as the key, the hidden book of knowledge or the blueprint, if you will. When it comes to the relationship of creations and their creator, there is a lot of law and order versus discernment or free will that takes place. We can get the call from whatever higher power we believe in at whatever point in our lives, and this is known as or referred to as a spiritual awakening. But what's important is that we answer the call, lest we miss our calling. In the spiritual or conscious community, it is believed that you are chosen at birth or before birth, whichever one you think comes first, and for a particular reason.
Everything that follows is a result of what you see here.
It doesn't always have to be spiritual. In the beginning of our awakening, we are confused. It's natural to question all the wrong or bad things that happen to us before we are awake.
Is there something you want to tell me?
We get disappointed when we don't get an answer or when we don't get the answer that we like or what we want to hear.
I'm sorry, my responses are limited. You must ask the right questions.
Still leaving us with more questions.
Why did you call me?
I trust your judgment.
The moment we begin trusting our intuition is the moment we begin to embark on a breakthrough.
The right guy for the right job.
What'd you say?
Now what? Come on, I'm giving you a compliment. Face it, with all the rocks you've been looking under to find a bad robot, what are the odds you'd be the guy to find one?
I wasn't just the right guy for the job, I was the perfect guy for the job.
Damn right.
What if I was supposed to go for that robot?
My question to you, the viewer, is before our awakening, how would you describe your behaviors, reactions, and responses? You know, the way you conducted yourselves up until your spiritual awakening. Clever programming, imitation of free will, Jack in the Box, a simulation, etc., etc. Now, it's believed that God created man and God created the commandments to help govern mankind during his absence, if you will. It is also known that men created laws to help govern each other within societal constructs. With these laws in place, do you believe that you have been able to keep yourself safe so far?
Laws are made to be broken.
And what about the hidden knowledge, especially the parts that are important to help further your safety and precautions? We already know that when certain information is omitted, we begin to have strong beliefs and we become prejudiced. We sometimes lack reasoning if our emotions are strongly tied to those beliefs.
Prejudice never shows much reason. No, I suspect you simply don't like their kind.
And we make assumptions based on misinformation and how much we believe in laws that'll keep us safe. Belief in laws that have loopholes.
A robot can no more commit murder than a human could walk on water.
Well, there was this one guy a long time ago.
I'm also going to point out the difference between masculine and feminine in spirituality and consciousness. It is important to have a healthy balance between the two, especially within one person or entity. When it comes to consciousness and spirituality, the saying, "The whole is different from the sum of its parts," is true. This spiritual analysis is to help you look deeper at what's presented. If you think this video is about how and why robots take over the world, then go ahead and click off, because that's not what this is about. I'm using the intricate details of this movie to describe the teachings of consciousness and spirituality. So if you're ready, let's begin. Now, in the beginning of this intro, I mentioned the relationship between the creator and its creations. If Dr. LANI didn't have a relationship with Spooner, then we could safely compare him to our creator or the universe. Since we know that they have had intimate interactions, then he can be compared to an ascended master or ancestor that has taken knowledge to his grave, and in order to get his descendant to uncover this hidden knowledge, he has to go through careful guidance as well as follow his intuition. Even though everyone around him tried to dismiss his intuitive cues or try to dissuade him or, persuade him to stop his investigation and just make it what everyone assumed it to be, a apparent unaliving, he still remained persistent. Because of small confirmations throughout the movie, when he requested more help from Dr. Calvin, this created a more harmonious balance of masculine and feminine, outside and in. At the same time, he continued his investigation that helped him discover the hidden meaning of Sonny's dreams and why he was created. The more persistent Detective Spooner was, the more the odds began stacking against him. His persistence also accelerated Vicky's plan to protect all of mankind with her evolved understanding of the three laws. While Detective Spooner was searching the storage area for the older robots, DNA spores, the hologram of Dr. LANI, the proverbial ancestor, had given him a revelation.
Is there a problem with the three laws?
The three laws are perfect.
And why would you build a robot that can function without them?
The three laws will lead to only one logical outcome.
What? What outcome?
Revolution.
Whose revolution?
That, detective, is the right question.
The implementation of this plan created a form of civil uprising that seemed as a veil, masking or a form of distraction. No one knew who was using the uplink to manipulate the robots. This scene can be compared to the fear mongering that goes on in reality and on the news, distracting us from what is really taking place and who's really behind it all. When they break into Robertson's office, Spooner realized his suspicions were wrong yet again, forcing him to recall all of the clues as well as his setbacks during the entire investigation so far.
Who else had access to the uplink? Who can manipulate the robots? Use USR systems to make Lanning's life a prison? Poor old man.
He saw what was coming. He knew no one would believe him. So he had to lay down a plan. Plan I followed.
He was counting on how much I hated your kind. Knew I'd love the idea of a robot as a bad guy. Just got hung up on the wrong robot. Vicky.
As I stated before, this movie is the perfect example to use as an illustration to explain the many facets of consciousness and spirituality. They can be viewed as the overarching topics, and now I'm going to explain the fine details. Personalization, or better known as alchemy. This coincides with law and order or co-creation. I wanted to quickly point out that it was very important for Dr. Lanning to personalize Sonny in order for Spooner to warm up to him, to see him as a something more than just a robot or more than just lights and clockwork. As we see, when Sonny was caught, he made sure during the interrogation to let Spooner know my name is Sonny, because Spooner tried to disrespect him by calling him a canner. That moment is when Sonny asserted his demand for respect. That's when Spooner began calling him Sonny. Even Dr. Calvin realized that Sonny wouldn't respond when she called him an NS5. And lastly, Dr. Lanning referred to Sonny as Sonny, and Sonny referred to Dr. Lanning as my father. He even showed emotions when he saw his end photo during the interrogation scene, if you know what I mean by the word end. Personalization or co-creation or alchemy is very important for humans when it comes to objects and other living things. Dr. Lanning's last co-creation came in the form of Sonny. From the type of alloy he had to him having a secondary processing system, all the way down to his very eye color.
NS5. Sonny? Why didn't you respond?
I was dreaming.
You don't have an uplink to USR, and for some reason your alloy is far denser than normal. Unique.
I am unique. They look like me, but none of them are me. Isn't that right, Doctor?
Yes, Sonny, that's right. You are unique.
It's a part of spirituality that we don't see and or realize on a daily basis as something that we should actually practice more. Meaning, it's like giving life to something. I'll give a short personal example. I can buy a notebook or a planner, but if I don't personalize it, then it's not that important to me. When I personalize it, it becomes important and I find myself utilizing it much more. That's why when you open up some notebooks, on the entire first page, it'll say, this book belongs to, and then it'll have a blank line for you to put your name on it. You unknowingly become a co-creator or creator of that thing, or even a proprietor, owner, etc., of that thing. So from now on, think of all the things you have become the owner or co-creator of. You are the breath within his breath. You are way more important than what you think you are. That's all I'm trying to say. All of this leads me to the rest of the entire video.
Everything that follows is a result of what you see here.
Everything isn't simple. At the same time, everything isn't complex. However, I do believe that there is always a deeper meaning than what's on the surface. We are unable to hold in emotions or harbor strong ones like anger. We are destined to shine them outward just as the sun casts out its light on us. We were also not created to emulate the same hue, shade, tint, or vibrant form of light. Some of us have dark or dim lights, and others are so vibrant that they resemble a hue of white or pure light. This is about taking a deep dive into colors and relating them to relationship dynamics, moods, and personalities, while also showing how their association can evoke emotions.
This segment is not only about evoked emotions, it's also about spiritual meanings as well. Colors in movies have very strong, deep, and spiritual meanings. They are rarely just for decoration and color coordination. This movie uses a lot of neutral or natural colors whenever the characters are out and about. It gave the outdoors a rustic feeling. Now, I know that rustic is a kind of design reserved for indoor or interior design, but just follow me here. When I read up on what rustic is, this is what I came up with, and this is exactly why I called it a rustic look. What is rustic design? Rustic design is a style that's natural, aged, organic, and maybe even a little distressed. Rustic is the opposite of modern or contemporary design. Rustic decor also feels completely unpretentious or stuffy. It's a type of design that is incredibly approachable and relaxed. It should feel welcoming and easy with a color palette that's calming and traditional. Natural, neutral colors such as beige, white, brown, and gray are all key, but opt for the warmer tints. Key features: real wood texture, handmade heavy, simple beams. Common materials. Rustic design is all about materials that come from the earth. Real unprocessed woods, heavy stone, and real brick are all common elements of rustic decor. The modern is bold, breaks all rules of tradition, and has a certain whimsy and irony about it. It is more about the form than the function, which is the exact opposite of the practical features found in classic modern design. This is why I am comparing the two color schemes or designs. It's because they are opposites of each other, and in the movie you kind of notice that outdoors or even in Dr. Lanning's house, you see it is very rustic, old-fashioned, if you will. And when you compare it to USR and even Spooner's car, everything seems very modern, very sleek, straight, classy in nature with its own form of chic. Rustic brings a relaxed feeling, and modern brings a very conformed unity kind of feeling. Cohesion and a sense of synergy, oneness, if you will. They bring the two designs together to show how the city of Chicago has aged and upgraded into the future at the same time. And that's all I'm going to point out about those two styles and why it seems as if they could be kind of clashing, or they're forcing those two styles to come together when they really kind of sort of don't belong together. Turquoise. This color was very important in the movie because it's supposed to give the feeling of calmness, tranquility, peace, balance, and protection. It's also one of the colors that represents large bodies of water. Spooner's apartment walls were turquoise. It definitely gave the feeling of remembering or re-traumatization of being submerged. I want to read what else turquoise represents. It awakens emotions, whether you lead with your head or your heart. The color turquoise speaks to both. By pairing these two powerhouses together, the color turquoise gives rise to healthy emotions. Color psychology suggests that turquoise both heals and controls our feelings. As a result, we gain emotional stability. However, excessive use of the color turquoise may precipitate emotional imbalance. A spiritual mentor, the color turquoise has the incredible ability to connect with our souls. It's unassuming, so we don't take offense when it offers guidance. Turquoise makes us feel more in harmony with our intuition. As we develop a stronger bond with our sixth sense, spiritual growth follows. Simply put, this stunning shade encourages us to expand our minds, diversify our understandings, and open our hearts. A quiet observer. When turquoise manages to go unnoticed, it takes this opportunity to digest its surroundings. Depending on its mood, turquoise may simply observe or it might judge. These traits reveal the color's more childish side. Moreover, as a subtle observer, the color turquoise is more informed than we think. I also want to point out that you see a hint of the color, or should I say a tint of this color throughout the movie. You see this color even at night in places you wouldn't expect, like outside under the moonlight. And moonlight doesn't give that kind of tint, but I understand why they use that color or filter during nighttime. During the scene of conflict, it literally looked like a contrast of tranquility turning into war. Which leads me to my next color of discussion, red. The color red symbolizes power, control, authority, and sacrifice, hence the term bloodshed and the phrase blood, sweat, tears. Symbolism and meaning of red. Red stands for many things, all of them potent. Red is romantic love and its physical passion. Red is violence, anger, and aggression, and it frequently indicates danger. Paradoxically, for a color associated with action and energy, red is universally used as the color that means stop. Red is used professionally to capture attention, elicit emotion, and convey confidence. Negative associations. Just as blood can be associated either with its life-giving properties or life-taking abilities with violence, red is also paradoxically affiliated with notions of violence, danger, and anger. Red can indicate anger beyond what reason can contain. Seeing red, and red flags indicate or should when something's wrong with a person or a situation.
Every time one of those things attack me, that red light was on.
The uplink to USR.
It's Robertson.
Why? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I just need to know if you can get me into that building.
It also represents the root chakra. In this movie, anytime you saw the color red, it brought unaliving and destruction. Burgundy. Initially, when I did this breakdown, I thought that this color was only seen a couple of times throughout the entire movie. This color actually appeared 3 times in this movie and during very important scenes. 3 is a number that's important in this movie, but hold that thought because I'll explain why later on. We noticed this color on Dr. Lanning on 2 separate occasions. He's wearing burgundy under his lab coat in his hologram. During his free radical speech, he's wearing a burgundy tie, and it looks to be like a silk tie. The 3rd time we see this color is during the revolt. We see 2 of the members in Farber's posse, and that's literally what they call the people who revolt against the robots. They call them Farber's posse. So 2 members of Farber's posse are wearing it, and we also see a burgundy SUV. I would like to read a couple of paragraphs about the color burgundy. Embodies power. The color burgundy likes being in charge. It doesn't take kindly to authority figures. It goes to great lengths to be on top. Its need to be in control makes burgundy pretty tense. However, this also contributes to its ambitious disposition. Burgundy understands that with great power comes great responsibility, and it has no problem taking numerous tasks on. Individualistic. Burgundy doesn't care about the status quo. It marches to the beat of its own drum. This gives Burgundy the unique edge it desires. Though Burgundy is closely related to maroon and red, you won't find another hue that's quite like this one. Burgundy attire is thought to be especially eccentric, introverted. Though most colors enjoy being around other hues, burgundy prefers to keep to itself. It doesn't like being vulnerable, so it chooses not to open up. Unfortunately, this precipitates isolation. As a result, burgundy can come across as unfriendly. It doesn't mean to be, but it would much rather sit in silence than get to know other people. Sympathetic. Burgundy understands the trials and tribulations of life. It's for this reason why it offers compassion and empathy. If you don't want to be judged for the hardships you're experiencing, go to the color burgundy. It's here where you'll find an incredible amount of understanding. Best of all, you can rest assured that you'll be heard. This clearly defines who Dr. Lanning is based on the information we gather about him throughout the movie. And the last time we do see the color burgundy is the SUV right before when the conflict begins. This confirms what burgundy embodies, and I'm going to reread the embodies power paragraph. The color burgundy likes being in charge. It doesn't take kindly to authority figures. It goes to great lengths to be on top. Its need to be in control makes burgundy pretty tense. However, this also contributes to its ambitious disposition. Burgundy understands that with great power comes great responsibility, and it has no problem taking numerous tasks on. The first time we see Dr. Lanning with the color burgundy is when he is speaking to Dale Spooner as a hologram. I want you to take note that this is the last thing he is wearing before he is thrown out of the window, as well as it is the first thing that we, the viewers, see him wearing in the movie. The second time we see him wearing the color burgundy is during his last programs or video footages, when he gives his free radical speech about how robots will evolve over time.
One day they'll have secrets. One day they'll have dreams.
It's true. We encourage our scientists to open their minds to just about anything. However, they get carried away.
Secrets. One day they'll have dreams. Secrets. One day they'll have dreams. One day they'll have secrets. One day they'll have dreams.
And the last time we see the color burgundy is during the scene of conflict with Farber's posse. There is a burgundy SUV during the beginning phase of the uprising or revolution. A burgundy SUV has a different meaning than a white SUV. Again, burgundy is a power of power. And in the revolution scene, the people are trying to maintain their control while the robots are trying to take it. A white SUV is more whimsical, meaning if you're riding in a white SUV, you are taking a ride on a cloud. And sometimes that means transporting your soul to the underworld. Or if you believe in heaven and hell, then transporting your soul to heaven.
Pop smoke. Pop smoke. Now y'all already know I already decoded pop as the king of pop. P.O.P. Prince of Peace. Smoke. Cloud. How does the Prince of Peace ascend? On a cloud, right? And biblically, right? And then the last photo he takes is himself getting in a white vehicle, which is like a cloud. Okay, so then we have Chris Brown, also simulating a similar photo. He's dressed in blue and green like the earth. And then this big white cloud approaches, this giant white cloud approaches, and he's standing in front of it. So that's also symbolic. And then, of course, he also posts another. This is before, let's see, this is way before Pop Smoke. Chris Brown posted this in his story. White clouds. You never had a panic attack until one of these drives up behind you. So basically, they're trying to tell us that something is coming in the clouds. Look up. Okay. And then you have Rihanna. She posted something where she looks like a giant cloud up on the thing. Of course, she's not to show her booty, but she's in this all white outfit up high. So that also represents cloud. So these are like the three to watch for information because they're the three that were given, you know, the sprinkle to put out the info.
Eye colors. Since eyes are the windows to the soul, many times the look of the eyes themselves will tell you everything you need to know about a character. This trope is when color symbolism in the eyes is used for characterization. For instance, someone who is very peaceful or innocent might have blue eyes, sunny, or someone who is sinister or supernatural might have yellow eyes, the other robots, the NS5s. While there are general patterns as to what colors mean, these aren't absolute. It's up to the authors what certain eye colors mean in context. Recurring patterns include, but are not limited to, brown eyes. As the most common real-life eye colors, these are often given to quote-unquote muggles or down-to-earth, grounded characters like Del Spooner and Dr. Calvin. In conclusion, when you are watching movies, take notice of the colors they use and when or where you see certain ones. Colors have hidden, intentional, and even spiritual meanings. They are more than just color schemes or themes or simply convey emotions. This brings me to the next major spiritual meaning of this movie: emotions. Now, the first thing I want to state about emotions and the importance of emotions, and this movie is a perfect example of how you attract or manifest anything tangible or intangible. It also helps illustrate how feelings, emotions, and moods affect how we move out here in these streets. The emotions we feel have different vibrational levels or frequencies. They also are associated to certain colors and hues of color. Keep this graph or graphs in mind because this will be used for this section of the video. For our first example of attraction, manifestation, and consciousness is how you wake up will affect how your day will go. Les Brown says that the first 20 minutes after you wake up will set the tone for your day. So if you wake up in a bad mood, you have a nightmare, or you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, then your day is going to go kind of not in the way that you would want or expect. The first dream, we see the 3 laws surrounded by bubbles in water. We see Spooner's dream, and the moment he wakes up, we notice he is sweating, giving the impression of him having a bad dream and leaving us, the viewers, with an ominous feeling. This sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Remember the saying, how you wake up is how your day will go? Now, trauma and reliving them, we can safely say that he is not only traumatized by the car accident, but he is also affected by the trauma of almost drowning. We can conclude that by how he takes his showers. It's said that most people who almost drown do drown and are revived have a fear of showers and baths. They do not like closing the shower curtains. Most will say because it reminds them of that moment, or it gives the feeling of being confined. And I would also like to point out the fact that he keeps his pew-pew with him at all times. Shamed and being improper. We see this when his grandma Gigi harps on him for not staying in touch with his ex-wife, and you can see that Gigi is important because, one, she is a matriarch and she's literally his only family member left, and we all know that the women within the family or society, they are the ones who teach emotions and traditions. Shame is considered to be a low vibe feeling. It's used to control someone or their behavior and maintain conformity. Its frequency is as stated by the angry therapist as the lowest frequency of consciousness. Suspicion. His suspicion ends up making him feel a little embarrassed. Later on, it also shows us how he views all robots as bad. This is different from intuition because it's like saying if you feel it in your heart as a form of conviction, then your heart is going to convince your head, your mind, that it's true. And the saying can be reversed the other way around. According to Spooner, if one is bad, then they all are bad in some way. Now, the reason why suspicion is different from intuition is because your intuition is your gut instinct, your second brain. It is a definite yes, something's wrong, or it sometimes can be a no, everything's fine. Suspicion is a maybe, and it's never definite. It's a question, a theory, a hypothetical, or even a reasonable doubt, but never a definitive. Grief and desensitization. In this scene, we see how he interacts with the hologram, and we have a little bit of understanding that he has had interactions with the doctor in some way, form, or fashion. These interactions were intimate in a way that is solidified by him standing over his body and saying his last goodbyes.
Bye, old man.
Right after that, he converses with the other detectives and he wants them to catch him up on what has happened before he got there. His interactions with them shows how they are on the polar opposite of someone who has any sympathy for someone who just passed away. They behave like people who have become desensitized to someone unaliving themselves. In their defense, that comes with the territory with police or detective work. We can tell by how they describe the scenario to him based on the crime scene. One of the detectives says,
Afternoon, boys.
Hey, Detective.
Enlighten me.
What you see is what you get. Massive impact trauma.
Meaning it's apparent that it was an apparent self-deletion rather than a homicide.
Anything upstairs?
Nada. Door was security locked from the inside. Wham, splat. Guy's a jumper for sure.
I'm purposely leaving out prejudice for this portion of the video. I will say that prejudice will drive you to make conclusions or assumptions about someone or something without a second thought or a good reason.
Prejudice never shows much reason. No, I suspect you simply don't like their kind.
More examples of someone being desensitized in this scene. You see how the doctor felt more emotions to protect Sonny, the Jack-in-the-Box, a potential dangerous robot, over the safety of her and Detective Spooner by sealing themselves into a confined area with that potentially dangerous robot.
It's not going to hurt us. I gave you an order.
He's not listening right now, lady.
Vicky, seal the lab.
No, Vicky, please.
Command confirmed.
So her emotions lean more towards the robot, and that kind of clouded her judgment in that area, which is the first clue as to how important the robots were as opposed to the importance of the humans and the loss of life, the person that actually created the robots. Which brings me to the spelling and or grammar of the title card of the movie. On the cover photo, it's spelled lowercase I, comma, uppercase ROBOT. So it just illustrates how I, the person, is not as significant as the robot based on the spelling and the grammar. Intimidation. In this scene, we see that Detective Spooner and Dr. Calvin followed the injured robot to the nearest robot factory or facility because he needed to repair himself. This is where Spooner uses his pew-pew as a form of intimidation to figure out which robot would break the 3 laws, and of course it worked. Sonny feeling frightened and anger. These are all proof of signs that Sonny has way more free will than what everyone expected him to have. His ability to have free will gives him the ability to be discerning on the choices of fight, flight, or freeze. When he's scared, he might freeze, or as he did in the lab, he pretended to blend in. And when he was confronted face to face by Detective Spooner and his pew-pew, then he felt the need to defend. He chose flight after the lab, the scene of intimidation, and when he was greeted by the police force, but subsequently he was apprehended. Now, the interrogation scene, when Sonny became angry, it was kind of bizarre, should I say, how no one saw it as a problem that Sonny was angry. Like, you've never seen a robot get angry before, but everyone brushed it off, which leads me to my next point.
John, give me 5 minutes with it. What are you, nuts? I just got off the phone with the DA. Nobody goes into that room until Robertson and his attorneys get here.
But no, this is my suspect.
It's a can opener, for Christ's sake.
Spooner calling Sonny's feelings a simulation. In the spiritual or conscious community, simulation is often referred to as not real, almost like a dreamlike state. So it's a way to dismiss or disregard how real Sonny's feelings actually are. This also shows that Sonny and Dr. Lanning's relationship mimics that of Geppetto and Pinocchio's relationship, because Sonny always referred to Dr. Lanning as my father.
My father tried to teach me human emotions. They are difficult.
Remember that this is just another key point to point out about personalization and co-creation of Sonny. And this also brings me to my next point, respect versus disrespect. Within the same scene, we see or notice how Sonny doesn't see himself as just any normal robot. He does view himself somewhat similar to a human, and another notion we get is when he commands respect by reiterating that his name is Sonny.
That one's called anger. Ever simulate anger before? Answer me, Canner.
My name is Sonny.
So we're naming you now.
Feeling trapped or bound, or even drowned out by laws that Spooner feels are flawed. And this feeling is confirmed. He wakes up from his second dream or nightmare by saying, "Get out of there," and pointing to his head with his pew pew. Sonny's ability to be discerning is discovered after Dr. Calvin takes a look at his processing system. Technically, we get hints of it throughout the beginning of the movie, but it's confirmed during Dr. Calvin's assessment of his processing system. We also learned that the second processing system is what makes him unique or different from the other robots. And also, he doesn't have the uplink to USR like the other NS5s. And it also gives him what is known as free will or discernment in the spiritual and conscious community. Depending or based on Sonny's feelings is what really drives him and how he acts or reacts. This is also the moment Dr. Calvin's feelings change and she starts to realize how right Dell's intuition was. I think I want to take this time to point out that up until this point, it seems as if the emotional or intuitive aspect has kind of been flipped. Normally, women are the intuitive ones who have a strong sense and feeling when it comes to emotions. But in this movie, it was the masculine, the man who had the strong feelings and intuitive, sensational feelings. And another point I would like to make is that men do have intuition and emotions, but they choose to listen to their logic more than their reasoning or intuition. Guilt. In the same scene, we learn why Spooner shows so much negative emotions towards robots. When the robot saved him from the wreck instead of saving the little girl, it left him feeling guilty, which led him to feel resentment towards all robots, and then that subsequently turned into prejudice towards all robots. That situation solidified his perception and view of robots. And now that we have seen this scene, we can go back and assume that not only did Dr. Lanning fix him after the wreck, that's how he became close with the doctor, and we can also assume that he has expressed his guilt, resentment, and prejudice towards robots to Dr. Lanning at some point, as well as everyone else throughout the movie. It helps us understand that he is not just logical, but he has reasoning as well. And comparing himself to a robot, they do not have reasoning. They just only have logic, which is why he is very prejudiced against them. Because as he stated, a human would have known that 11% was still a life worth saving. Trust versus distrust. I want to first point out that Spooner and Sonny are a contrast of each other, a reflection, if you will. And what I'm about to say next is a big clue of what my next video will be on this topic. Sonny trusts Detective Spooner because he already knows who Detective Spooner is, which is why he knew his name during the interrogation scene. And that is because that was a part of his downloads, his dreams, his secret, his programming. The dream secret and or download that Dr. Lanning gave him, because of the wreck, Spooner doesn't trust robots, and not even a robot that was closely associated to Dr. Lanning. This leads me to my curiosity point. Curiosity. Dr. Lanning had programmed this in his dreams or secret to trust Detective Spooner or to view him as a friend, which is most likely why he didn't KILL Detective Spooner when he picked up the pew pew. And also Sonny is the proof that as the robots get better or upgraded, they begin to evolve themselves, which is why he asked what the winking signified. And clearly he uses that again in order to gain Detective Spooner's trust. Finally, the confrontation of Vicky. In the conscious community, it would seem as if certain people are omniscient or all-knowing, and sometimes they would refer to themselves as ascended masters. Now, if we refer to the graph that I showed earlier, you can see how you can ascend from alpha to omega within the conscious level of thinking or enlightenment. Seek and you shall find has always been my motto when it comes to learning about consciousness. I might know a lot, but I don't know everything. And that's actually a good thing. As long as you have that thirst for knowledge, your curiosity will make you want to seek information out in order to quench that thirst. So never feel like you don't know everything when it comes to spirituality or consciousness. If you don't know, go look it up, Google it, get a dictionary, or watch a YouTube video. However, make sure you are careful with the information you consume. Some things are put out there in order to throw you off your path or confuse you. My point is, make sure the source you seek or reference is credible. I have cultivated my knowledge over time, and so has the highly knowledgeable or conscious people have done. They learned things and then they teach what they've learned or what they know. My next point is conflict, confusion, and confirmation. During these scenes of the robots having some form of uprising for control, we realize that Dr. Lanning answered and confirmed the reason why he created Sonny to Detective Spooner.
Is there a problem with the 3 laws? The 3 laws are perfect. Why would you build a robot that can function without them? The 3 laws will lead to only one logical outcome. What? What outcome? Revolution. Whose revolution? That, detective, is the right question.
We simultaneously see that during the civil uprising between robots and humans, Dr. Calvin gets her own version of confirmation when her personal NS5 lies to her about who called and left a message. Spooner saved her and they are on their way to USR, and as they are on their way, he is explaining to her what his revelation from the hologram with Dr. Lanning was.
The NS5s wiped out the older robots because they would protect us. Every time one of those things attacked me, that red light was on.
The uplink to USR.
It's Robertson.
Why? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I just need to know if you can get me into that building.
It wasn't until they broke into Robertson's office that they realized he wasn't controlling the robots at all. This forced Detective Spooner to reassess his setbacks because he got the key players wrong within the breadcrumbs. When Detective Spooner put all the breadcrumbs or puzzle pieces back together, that's when he realized who the actual robot was that was having this revolt or revolution. Which leads us to them feeling that Vicky must be stopped, obviously, or in the words of Detective Spooner,
"You have so got to die."
In the conscious community, or even during your spiritual awakening, you get subtle forms of confirmation. And sometimes you get confirmation that is like smack dab in your face type of confirmation. For example, when Detective Spooner had drinks with his lieutenant, and what his lieutenant said during that moment spoke to his intuition.
The right guy for the right job.
What'd you say?
Now what? Come on, I'm giving you a compliment. Face it, with all the rocks you've been looking under to find a bad robot, what are the odds you'd be the guy to find one?
I wasn't just the right guy for the job, I was the perfect guy for the job.
Damn right.
What if I was supposed to go for that robot?
Come on, don't do.
Also, when he was reviewing Dr. Lanning's last programs about the free radicals, he stated to the lieutenant that...
I think he's trying to tell me something, John. He's trying to tell me who killed him.
Come on, man. Some dead guy's trying to tell you something.
Hey, he ain't just some dead guy.
Maybe you should take a break, then.
Another confirmation was when he was right about Sonny's dreams and how it was Dr. Lanning's way of keeping secrets for him to uncover. And the last form of confirmation was when they actually started having the revolution, a sense of purpose. Now, during this time is when Sonny realizes his true purpose. It wasn't just to be the second breadcrumb for Detective Spooner, but he was also a major component for this whole entire movie or story, obviously. He had denser alloy. He had two processing systems, one logic and one discerning or reasoning. He was faster and stronger than the other robots, and he was able to feel emotions, and he was able to have dreams, which are two major things that living beings feel or experience. Another correlation I want to make with this is that during your spiritual awakening, you don't know what you're here to do, but you always have this sense of belonging. I am here for a reason. You will always hear someone who has been through or is going through a spiritual awakening say, I always said it, and it's because you know what you know. It's in your intuition. You feel it, you sense it, and before now, I didn't know what I was going to do. I always thought I was going to be a teacher and I was going to retire as a teacher, but now I see why I went through what I went through, and I understand how I'm going to use what I went through as teaching moments, and this is one of them. Vindication. After the defeat of Vicky, we learn why Sonny was created. This is the last emotion we feel after he has fulfilled his initial purpose. He goes on to having another purpose. It's just another way of seeing how we could have one purpose in life, and then towards another period of our life, we have a different purpose. We go down a different path, and our paths or purposes in life are never one thing. They're never straight and narrow, etc., etc. I have to give you a couple of cliches that can express this in a very, very great way. I once was blind, but now I see. Or you will hear how spiritual people will always say, I am woke, referring to the time of their life when they were referred to as being lulled to sleep or asleep. Or even some people phrase it as God's plan. I was meant to go through these events in my life, and now I understand why I went through those events in my life. And another famous quote is, "There is a reason for everything." This movie is a perfect example of how your head, your logic needs to be balanced with your heart, your emotions, your emotional intelligence. Because without logic and reasoning, you become a slave to logic. You become a heartless being.
You are making a mistake.
In the words of Vicky. So if you are a spiritual person, just know that just because you're emotionally intelligent more than other people doesn't mean that you are overly sensitive in a negative way, because logical people will try to make it seem as if being sensitive is a negative thing when you just feel more, you sense things at a greater level, you see beyond the surface of logic. However, this doesn't give you the right to be overly emotional. Again, balance is key. The most ironic line in this movie is when Detective Spooner says to Dr. Calvin,
Just didn't feel right.
You and your feelings, they just run you, don't they?
the reason this line was ironic is because he was the one who was driven by his emotions and intuition, which leads us to ask, had he not been so emotionally invested in this case, meaning had it not been so personal to him, would we have seen the same outcome? This movie is the perfect example, following your intuition, paying attention to the signs, clues, and the fine details. This way, you can make better conclusions for serious situations. This is demonstrated when our trio of heroes find out that Robertson wasn't controlling the robots at all. As Spooner said himself, his prejudice led him to get hung up on the wrong robot, which is what we as consciously woke people strive to do, because if not, your emotions could cause you to make assumptions or false conclusions, and they can force you to make hasty, irrational decisions. Once he reassesses his setbacks, he was able to pinpoint the correct robot, or should we say supercomputer. The overall point I'm making for this section of this video is how important emotional intelligence really is when it comes to decision making and self-control, discipline, or self-regulation.
Why do you want to teach with rationality, the rational solution of problems, as the basis of what you do right?
For two reasons. In the first place, I have to live with myself. And secondly, even though I don't think I'll convert the world to rationality, I may influence an occasional person here and there. And every small addition to the sum total of rationality is precious. And I would like to be responsible for as many drops as we can possibly add to that small pond.
Now, you don't have to be as stoic as a Vulcan, but what I'm saying is it's very important to understand how to control your emotional output. And when you can do that, you can harness that emotional energy, and you can actually alchemically convert it into things that need to be taken care of, or direct it in a way that benefits you better. The ability to alter one's emotional responses is essential to overall well-being and meeting demands of life. One of the chief symptoms of the events of such trauma that overwhelm our capacities to successfully handle and adapt to them is a shift in our internal baseline reference, such as there ensues a repetitive activation of the traumatic event. So we like to repetitively go over things that were traumatic to us. We live them over and over and over in our mind. We have to stop doing that. The past is the past, and you only experience the past as a memory because you are literally creating that memory in your mind. You're uploading that information back to the front of your mind again. It had already been stored in another location in your brain, and you keep reliving it, and you're reliving it over and over. That is causing a lot of trauma, conscious trauma. This can result in high vigilance over sensitivity to environmental signals, which are reflected in inappropriate emotional responses and autonomic nervous system dynamics. In this article, we discuss the perspective that one's ability to self-regulate the quality of feeling and emotion of one's moment-to-moment experience is ultimately intimately tied to our physiology. and the reciprocal interactions among physiological, cognitive, and emotional systems. So what we're talking about here is the way that we're responding to exterior input, if left unchecked, will cause us to lose control of our physiology and go into depression, anger, frustration, fear, all these things that bring down our immune systems, bring down our consciousness, bring down our frequencies. And this is by the way, guys, what I'm reading to you is peer-reviewed science, because some of you know that I like to include real peer-reviewed science with what I'm talking about, so it's not just me talking off the top of my head. That what I'm bringing to you is backed by people, not just one, but many people, and peers have reviewed it, and a lot of this stuff is made into scientific journals. So this is real stuff, real information. So these interactions form the basis of information processing networks in which communication between systems occurs through the generation of transmission of rhythms and patterns of activity. Again, remember, brain-heart coherence. Interactions, it's a network. Your body is an actual internet.
Dreams or downloads. In simplified terms, dreams are our mind's way of solving problems that we have when we are awake. And our minds solve these problems during REM sleep, especially if we think about them before we go to bed. This is why conscious creators will tell you to listen to things like ASMR, affirmations, or something calming before you sleep. I can honestly say that I have had dreams about whatever I saw on YouTube because it was a bad habit for me to sleep while I was still watching YouTube. Dreams are also what we view as a success for ourselves. Dr. Lanning's dream.
These robots are the realization of a dream. Dr. Lanning's dream.
You know what? In that dream of his, I bet you he wasn't dead.
We already know that dreams can be what you think of as goals and aspirations, and not just what we see in our minds at night while we sleep. They can also be all of the things that you view as your own personal success. There are two terms that are used interchangeably to describe the process between dreaming it and actually achieving it. There are two concepts that came from this thought process or theory. The first one is attraction. Attraction is when you look within to change the negative characteristics and aspects about yourself in order to receive the positive things you desire. The second one is manifestation. Manifestation requires actions towards your dreams, taking the necessary steps towards each goal. They will only remain just that, an intangible thought, hope, or dream until you take action. And those actions turn into the manifestation. You cannot create or be a co-creator without manifestation. The difference is that, one, you allow your dreams to come to you by changing yourself within or your surroundings. The other, you physically work towards your dreams. Sunny's dreams are actually programmed, embedded, or they are what is known as downloads in the conscious community into his secondary processing system. This is why he never viewed Detective Spooner as a threat or anything of that nature, because he already knew who he was, as I stated earlier, which answers Spooner's question of,
You could have killed me, John. Why didn't it just kill me?
All right, that's it.
Now, I am going to reiterate that Sonny's sole purpose for having dreams was to uncover Vicky's secret. His dreams were not just secrets, but hidden knowledge and revelations of Vicky's evolution. Vicky's dream or secret, and how her evolution turned into her revolution. Once Dr. Lanning found out about Vicky's evolution, which changed or enhanced her understanding of the 3 laws, that is when she began constantly watching him, and that led him to fear her. So he felt like the only way to get the secret out would be to leave breadcrumbs or clues. And the first breadcrumb was his own unaliving. Dale Spooner's dreams. In the beginning of the movie, we see the 3 laws. They appear to be underwater and surrounded by bubbles, giving the false feeling or impression of protection. After the 3 laws dissipate into bubbles and the bubbles dissipate into nothingness, water, we see the wreck through Spooner's point of view. He sees the robot jump into the water and it jumps over his windshield. So we can assume that he is assessing if the little girl is worth saving. And then we see the robot jump back over the hood or windshield of the car, and he breaks the window on the passenger side of Spooner's car. We see the robotic hand reaching for Spooner. Spooner actually wakes up from his dream at that point, sweating and panting, as if he's reliving that night. The same dream happens a second time, what seems like the next morning. As mentioned earlier, dreams are merely problems our subconscious is trying to solve. Spooner's dreams are reoccurring due to the car accident that left him traumatized. The reason why they seemed reoccurring is because he couldn't grasp the reason why the robot didn't follow his command to save the little girl. It bothered him during his waking moments, and therefore it bothered him as he slept. When Dr. LANI discovered that Vicky was evolving, he realized that it would lead to a revolution. So he had to come up with a way to combat that revolution.
Secrets. One day they'll have dreams. One day they'll have secrets. One day they'll have dreams.
And he was counting on Spooner's prejudice along with Sonny's 2.0 enhancements to get the job done. This revolution became an opportunity for Spooner to actually, in a way, solve the problem of robots not having reasoning coupled with their logic. So in the end, he was able to solve his problems with robots during his waking moment through Sonny. And in turn, Sonny was able to fulfill his purpose and find a new purpose by becoming the man at the top of the hill. Being that he is a new leader for the robots, Dr. LANI's dream for robots was fulfilled after all. Numbers. Numbers play a big role in the conscious and spirituality communities. In this movie, I'm going to point out each number and its significance and or its symbolism within the movie, just so you can get a further understanding of how spiritually and consciously this movie is actually connected. Now, the number 3 is more significant in this movie than you realize when you're watching it. Even if you watch it over and over again, you might not be able to point it out or catch it until, you finally look deeper, look past the veil. Anyways, let me just go ahead and get started with this segment. The 3 laws, 3 heroes, 3 dreams, 3 breadcrumbs, etc., etc. 1 spiritually symbolizes unity or oneness. It is a true pioneer, eager to break ground on new endeavors and pave the way for others to follow. It is a natural leader and a proactive force. The number 1 represents newness, movement, and the possibilities that await us. In spiritual symbolism, it is the number of creation and the birth of all things. In numerology, the number 1 is the root of opportunity. In our lives, it is a symbol of confidence, power, and action. It pushes us to look at our current circumstances and realize that we have the power to turn them into anything we wish. The number 1 is independent. Of all the numbers in numerology, the number 1 is the most self-sufficient, needing nothing but itself and its energy to thrive. It doesn't sit around waiting for opportunities to come about. It makes its own luck by capitalizing on circumstances others may be afraid to explore. One doesn't want to waste any time getting stuck negotiating or discussing plans. Going it alone allows the greater flexibility and quick, efficient movement. Goal-oriented with a positive outlook and unwavering self-determination. Its satisfaction comes from staying active and always progressing. In a few words, why stand still when you could advance? Instead of being daunted by obstacles, the number 1 looks for them as a challenge that must be and will be overcome. Seeing a door where others see a wall is a major asset to the number 1's success. According to Lloyd Strayhorn, the number 1 represents...
The number 1 rules the zodiac sign of Leo, first of all. So this would represent any Leos as well as anyone born on the 1st, the 10th, the 19th, or the 28th. A winner, they say, always comes in number 1. That's why 1s are leaders. They're your pioneers. They go where no other person has gone before. They're the first to do this. They're the first to do that. They denote a lot of originality. They do not take orders well. Somebody asked, what about the nickname? I'll get to that later. The nickname is like the pet name, as we call it here in the States, or nicknames too. But so number 1s are very individualistic. The best days for a number 1 is always on Sunday and Tuesday. Their best months are always in February, April, and August. And number 1s are ruled by the element of fire. That means they have a lot of passion, drive, energy, conviction. And this is why they are groundbreakers. So here's what I'm saying. You'll have a number 1 person and they'll be there. They say, you know, you're the first to leave home. You're the first to go to school. You're the first to finish school. You're the first to do this. You're the first to do that. 9 times out of 10, that was not their intention, but they wound up being number 1.
Del Spooner represents the number 1, the chosen one, if you will, and he sets off on this investigation alone against all the odds that were stacked against him. He proved and or confirmed in many ways that he was right, unknowingly fulfilling a destiny that freed him from the confinement of dwelling and prejudice. 2 symbolizes balance and duality. The numerology number 2 is known to numerologists as supremely feminine force, one that represents both grace and power. It is cooperative, always aiming to bring peace and balance back to a relationship or situation. This numerology number is also very sensitive. Of all the numbers, it has the strongest intuition. It is able to sense currents and feelings instinctively, then use these clues to connect with others empathetically. At its very core, the 2 in numerology represents partnership, the coming together or balancing of the individual people, concepts, or things. While it holds great power over any situation, it wields it with such diplomacy and tact that the results is not control and authority, but harmony and teamwork. This is why Dr. Calvin represents the number 2. In the movie, she tries to bring balance to Spooner's unbalanced emotions towards robots. At the same time, Spooner's reasoning brought balance to her rigidity and logic. Once the investigation begins, they became a dynamic duo by default. After her diagnostics of Sunny, she becomes more willingly helpful because she is more convinced that Spooner is right. According to Lloyd Strayhorn, the number 2 is...
2 is just the opposite of 1s, where 1s are assertive and aggressive. 2s are very passionate and patient, okay? They take their times. They use a more persuasive approach to get what they want rather than a forceful, aggressive approach to get what they want. This would mean anybody born on the 2nd, the 11th, the 20th, or the 29th of any month, because those are all 2s. And astrologically, this would refer to Cancerians, okay? Because 2s are nurturing, caring, sharing, artistic. They're very romantic, by the way. And I say with the number 2, they need a hug at least twice a day, okay? It can be the physical or the words of kindness, words of actions, things like that. That's how they do. The number 2 rules Monday, and the number 2 rules the period of late June into July, alrighty?
The number 3 represents cooperation. Our dynamic duo turned into a trio of heroes during Vicky's revolution. They represented the mind, body, and soul connection, with Dr. Calvin being the mind, Sunny being the body, and Detective Spooner being the soul, by your powers combined. Anyways, they were successful in the end. The 3 has a tendency to thrive in an upbeat and an engaging atmosphere. Its energy is youthful and positive, and it has an incredible zest for life. It dances from one enjoyable experience to the next, eager to interact with others along the way. The prized skill of the number 3 is communication, and it uses this talent to build a wide and interesting circle of friends, lovers, and kindred spirits. The 3 is highly original and embraces unique thinking and creative expression. This number's artistic, curious nature allows it to convey abstract ideas and find solutions others may miss. A child at heart, the number 3 never misses a chance to have fun, engage with others, and express all the love and joy it embodies. Throughout the movie, Sunny embodied all of these things. According to Lloyd Strayhorn, 3s
are very creative. Oh, first of all, 3 rules the signs of Pisces and Sagittarians. So although you are a Scorpio and you're born on the 3rd, if you got some Pisces and Sagittarian family members, friends, relationships, things like that, that would come as no surprise to me. This would also include anybody born on the 3rd, the 12th, the 21st, or the 30th of any month. You would also be included in this description. 3 people are very creative. 3 people are very ambitious. 3s want to make something of themselves. I mean, you know, they either want to get some recognition or whatever the case is, but they, like number 1, people want to rise to the top, okay? They are very determined when told they can't do this, that, and the other. They are determined to just go beyond that and exceed and go past that, okay? So when you tell a person, a 3 especially, you're going to be a failure, believe me, you better get out their way, because they're going to roll up their shirt sleeve and everybody is coming through, I guarantee you. Thursday is the best day for number 3 persons. Also, their best months would be in March and December, okay? Those would be the magic months for them.
It is extremely dependable and lends a great amount of stability to a person or situation. The 4 is dedicated to advancing, but in a more conservative way than a progressive one. It sticks to what is tried and true instead of attempting methods that are new. It has a strict definition of right and wrong and tends to see things as black and white with no gray area in between. The number 4 leads with its head, not its heart, and uses this mental strength to build a life of service and contentment. Although the NS4s weren't the first generation of robots USR invented, it is the first to be rooted with the 3-law safe programming. They were essentially the foundation of it. They also represented individuality. One didn't look like the other, and they blended in a lot better with society and the streets of Chicago. According to Lloyd Strayhorn, 4 is...
Number 4 people. 4 is symbolized by the sign of Aquarius, and this would also include anyone who was born on the 4th of any month, the 13th, the 22nd, or the 31st of the month as well. 4s love to be different. Everybody goes in that direction. The number 4 will go in this direction. They tend to do just the opposite. This is why 4 people have what are called secret enemies. Not because of a character flaw or personality defect. It's just that 4s are just like to be different. They like to think outside the box. But the price they pay for it are people who are jealous, envious, or insecure with them as a result. This would not only, and for 4 people, their best day is always on a Sunday, where their best time of the year is always in and around February, June, and August as a rule.
Also, I would like to add that Vicky represents the number 4 because she has no heart. She has no secondary processing system that would allow her to be sensitive to humans or humanity. It was nothing but logic, nothing but black and white, no gray area, no in between, no nothing. And that is why she evolved with her understanding of the 3 laws, and that is why she created an uprising or revolution. 5. I strongly feel like Farber represents the number 5 in this movie. Click the link in my resources section in the description box down below and let me know if you agree with me. In numerology, 5 represents change and transformation. The NS5s represents the change to robotics, hence them being the newer generation of robots. They also represented conformity and unity in their design and or appearance. And the way they blended into society was very different from the way the NS4s blended into society. They looked more like humans in their facial features and their physique. They were also the first generation of robots to be built with an uplink to USR. According to Lloyd Strayhorn, the number 5 represent...
Now you have a number 5. 5 rules Geminis and Virgo. So if you're a Gemini Virgo, numerically from my perspective, you are a number 5 person. Or perhaps you're born on the 5th, the 14th, or the 23rd of any month. All right? 5 rules Wednesday. 5 rules anybody who's smart, talented, engaging. 5, it's interesting, Terry, because where Scorpio is considered the sex sign in astrology, 5 is considered the sex number in numerology. Okay, so and then not just so much about sex, but they do more than that. For example, 5s are very multifaceted, multi-talented, multidimensional. They would do well in areas connected with business and commerce and science and travel and literary fields and things of that nature. They will also do well too, as far as they're concerned. As help, and to hold on to a 5, you got to let them go. It's ruled by the element of air. 5 rules Wednesday. That's their best day. It also rules the months of late May going into June and late August going into the month of September. Okay, and we're going to be getting to 9 in a few moments for Cleo Jones that just joined us. 5 people, don't forget, the secret to holding on to a number 5 is to let them go. Because when a 5 does settle down, they'll probably settle down with that person that gave them the most breathing room. And if you understand it is ruled by air, it makes sense. Next.
This brings me to my last and major connection of spirituality, consciousness, and this movie. Names. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's in a name? That which we call a rose, by any other word would smell as sweet. It is said that one of our most favorite words in the entire world is our name. This section of the video is going to be about uncovering names and their meanings. Are we really what our names say that we are? Or is it some common belief or just superstition? Let's find out and see. Del has an Old French meaning of thee, and it also has a Romany / Gypsy meaning he gives. Susan being a derivative of Susanna, which means lily, Alfred meaning counsel, and Sunny being a nickname for the word son. Now, Alfred LANI, his name fit him a whole lot because, as I stated earlier in my first section of this video, is that you can consider him to be an ancestor or an ascended master, if you will. And his hologram was Dell's way of seeking more deeper knowledge by asking the right questions to the hologram. Now, I'd like to take this time to quickly mention how Dr. LANI referred to Detective Spooner as son in his hologram, and he named his specially made robot as Sonny. This confirms that even without Dr. Calvin, they were always destined to find each other and become one, because they are one and the same. The balance that is needed to stop Vicky. I wanted to use this section to use numerology to calculate the numbers of their names, just to see if the characters match up to their character traits. Dell Spooner, name, destiny, or expression number is 4. Uranus rules the number 4. The 4 means secretive, dependable, and practical. The Uranus is known for the sudden and unexpected events in mysterious ways. The Uranus influences you in your life. You face many unexpected events in life. Due to this, you are a practical person who believes in individualism, tolerance, and originality. Secretive nature and unexpected behavior towards others are the main traits of number 4. You always plan to make the foundation of the future with weird ideas. You are a systematic and trustworthy person. You have a long list of likes and dislikes. You should avoid stubbornness and rigid behavior towards others. Number 4 represents the card Emperor, the overcoming. Soul urge number, the heart desire number, which describes your inner potentials and inner resources. Soul urge or heart desire number is 6. According to the vowels in Dell Spooner's name, his soul urge number is 6. The number 6 is responsible and desire for luxury. Venus influences the heart's desire. Number 6, therefore, you want to be an ideal person in the family. You have a deep affection and a sense of responsibility for your spouse and family. You are a good healer, nurturer, and want to do more for people you love a lot. You have a desire for love, luxury, life, and harmony. Dream number, the personality number, which describes outer personality, indeed your first impression on others. Name, dream, or personality number is 7. According to the consonants in your name, or Dell Spooner's name, his dream personality number is 7. The 7 means impressive as secretive and knowledgeable. The inner dream number 7 is influenced by Neptune. Your first image is known as the stylish person, who is known as a secretive but knowledgeable person too. You have the personality of an intelligent, mystic, and spiritual person. Now, I did do a numerology report or reading for the other characters like Dr. Calvin, Sonny, Alfred LANI, Lawrence Robertson, Farber, and I think that's all I did. And I will paste them on the screen, and feel free to pause and read if you would like. But I just thought that was so interesting and so eerily ironic that Dale Spooner's name matches up to his character and his character traits within the movie. Oh my God, it's like Twilight Zone weird, but it's amazing at the same time because it just lets you know how in tune these authors are when they are writing their stories. Sacred geometry. This section is about unifying hidden knowledge, meaning, and symbolism with life and sacred geometry. Hidden knowledge in the context of geometry often refers to the concept of sacred geometry, where the shapes and patterns found in nature and ancient structures are believed to hold deep mystical meanings, revealing underlying principles of the universe that are not really apparent at first glance, often associated with spiritual or philosophical insights beyond just the mathematical properties of shapes. Platonic solids. These perfect geometric shapes, cube, tetrahedron, octahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron, are often associated with the elements and fundamental building blocks of the universe in mystical traditions. Symbolic meaning. The shapes and patterns in sacred geometry are interpreted as symbols representing spiritual concepts, cosmic forces, and the interconnectedness of all things. Fibonacci sequence. This sequence of numbers found in nature, like the arrangement of petals on a flower, can be visually represented through geometric patterns, revealing a hidden order in seemingly random occurrences. Fractal geometry. Complex patterns repeating at different scales seen in natural phenomena like snowflakes or coastlines can be interpreted as a representation of interconnectedness and self-similarities. The sacred geometry or shape that is hidden in this movie is the circle. A circle is universally recognized as a symbol of unity, infinity, wholeness, perfection, and the cycle of life due to its continuous nature with no beginning or end, often representing the interconnectedness of all things and the eternal flow of time across various cultures and spiritual traditions. It can also symbolize the cosmos, the sun, or the divine, depending on the context. The circle is a universal symbol with many meanings, including unity and infinity, because it embraces all regular polygons. Infinity and eternity as a continuous line with no end. A circle symbolizes the concept and endless time and the eternal nature of existence. Cycles of life. Circles are often associated with natural cycles like the seasons, birth, growth, death, and rebirth. Also, because it has no beginning or end, the circular shape with no clear starting point represents a complete and unified whole, signifying connection and belonging. Hence, ancient symbols like the flower of life and the nautilus spiral, perfection, due to its symmetrical and continuous nature, wholeness, oneness, and completeness. Cyclic motion. It is a symbol of cyclic motion and the cycle of time. The circle is the symbol of mobility in the form of a wheel. Community. Community and friendliness, inclusivity and strength. Circles are believed to represent inclusion. What is encompassed by the shape becomes part of the sacred space within. Eternity because of its never-ending existence. Balance, hence the yin and yang. The cosmos. Many cultures view the circle as a representation of the cosmos, the sun or the moon, symbolizing the celestial order and divine power. The self. The circle is a symbol of the self, potential. The circle is a symbol of potential or the embryo. Protection. Protective agent. The circle has a magical value as a protective agent. The circle has been a dominant shape throughout history, heritage, and folklore. The circle is a shape that transcends cultures and time. In various ancient cultures, the circle held sacred significance. This will not be the first and last time I will be mentioning circles because the symbolism of circles go deep within a lot of movies, and this one is just, again, like I said, a prime example of the very deep and hidden symbolism within. This is where I will leave it for now, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If I missed anything, I'd like to read your perspective down in the comment section. What movie would you suggest I break down next? I already have a lineup, but I'll incorporate your suggestions as well. Don't forget to also slay that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Follow my other channel where I have motivational shorts and fantasy-like story times. And if you like this video, please don't forget to slay the like button. All of my sources and shameless plugs, like my website, my music, my merch line, and my podcast, are all in the description box down below. I will catch you all in the next video, but until then, put a shield on it and peace and love. Bye, everyone.
Greater is the source that is within you than the force that is within the world. It was resisting me hard to say, it was confusing me. But that's exactly how it is to be said. And it's exactly how I am saying it. Greater is the source that is in you than the force that is in the world. Accept yourself for this awesome sourcing of divine light, divine God, divine gift. Blessings to you. This has been Jerome Sage Butler, Raman Singh, and the whole tree of life, representing for life, reminding you you're a gift to life. Accept your gift of life.